Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. My name is Mike with The Last Line of Defense. This video is going to be kind of a rambling video. It's going to be largely a kind of course review, after action report, thoughts, whatever you want to call it, on the Haley Strategic D7 Handgun course that I just got done taking last week, I think. And I'm going to be talking about it, obviously, and I'm going to be mixing in a bunch of my other thoughts as we go. So largely a talking video, and I'm going to be throwing in kind of clips and stuff from the little bit that I recorded during the course. So if you're into that, stay tuned. As always, get subscribed to the channel. If you're not already, hit that thumbs up button. Appreciate that, but we'll just kind of get into it. So I'm a big proponent of training. I'm a big proponent of being prepared. I'm a big proponent of being skilled with the tools that you carry with you. So for me, my EDC consists of, amongst other things, a handgun, a Glock 19. Actually, we'll get it out right here. Glock 19, this is in one of my holsters. I make and sell holsters, LLOD.US if you're into it. So this is what I carry. As such, since I've made a decision to carry that every single day, I want to be really good at that. So a lot of my training revolves around handgun stuff, and as often as possible I do approach the course from a concealed carry mindset as well. This course I did carry concealed, though the rest of the students did carry OWB. Even if it's not a CCW course, I do, if the instructor allows it, carry concealed, because that's most likely 99% chance how I would have to use my gun in the unfortunate event that I have to use it to defend myself or others. So I always train that way if possible. This course I actually used this exact holster right here, which is just another one of my holsters, obviously a appendix carry holster for a Glock 19. So the D7 course is not a live fire course. It's not a simunition course either. It's kind of an air gun, laser gun course where you use, they're Gen 3 Glock 17, so they're actual Glocks with different mags, like a CO2 type mag, and then a different barrel and recoil spring, in which the system basically shoots a friggin' laser beam at a screen that tracks and the slide recoils. It's probably about half the recoil of a real gun, so kind of in between like a blowback airsoft gun if you've ever shot one, and a real like 9mm, akin to like a simunition round. Probably I would say like half power recoil, so enough to, make you lose your grip a little bit if you don't have a good grip and have to, track your sights back on target. So not a huge amount of recoil, but enough to kind of make it a little more realistic. So I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Let's talk about Haley Strategic, I guess. Travis Haley has been in the business for a long time, really kind of the forefather of modern day training in my mind, and a lot of tactical minded people's minds as well. Kind of push the boundaries forward for tactical training and kind of advancing how we train with firearms. I talk a little bit about this in a podcast that I filmed with him while I was out there. So I was down in Arizona. Travis Haley carved out some time for me to film some videos. You might have seen his Tacoma video, and then we did a podcast, and I filmed some other stuff while I was down there. So I do talk about some of this stuff in the podcast. The podcast isn't up yet. I have to make a podcast. It's going to be my first podcast. Unfortunately, I bought a brand new mic, a podcast mic that I never tested, and we did it out in a warehouse so we could have like a cool vibe, but the mic was not the right choice, so the audio quality sucks. I'm bummed about that. It's not really much I can do to make it better, but I'm gonna still probably upload it because I think it's some good content despite the poor audio quality. But yeah, I'm a little bummed about that. Anyway, Travis Haley, awesome guy, great instructor, kind of pushing the envelope of training. And that's what this D7 course is about. So he has a D3 and a D5 and a D7. The D7 is what I took, which is probably the most kind of scientific, technologically advanced course that's available to civilians right now. So Travis Haley, if you know him, he takes a very scientific approach, a very realistic approach to shooting, and his motto is thinkers before shooters, which I love. I always try to take courses with instructors that are approaching it from a very scientific perspective, and they're very knowledgeable, and they're really questioning why people do what they do. So kind of the top two in my mind are Travis Haley and another instructor that I really like a lot, Aaron Cowan of Sage Dynamics. So this is the first Haley strategic course I've taken. Really excited to take it. It's kind of on my bucket list of people to train with, so I'm really fortunate that I got the opportunity finally. But anyways, this video is going to be a lot of rambling if you haven't figured that out yet. The D7 Handgun course is the course where you're, like I mentioned earlier, not a live fire course. It's inside, basically kind of more in a classroom type setting. So there's projector screens, and there's laser tracking, and there's high-speed cameras, and there's metronome systems, and there's PowerPoint presentations. So it's much different than kind of your average training course. It appealed to me a lot. There's a lot of pros to this type of training. It's not a substitute for live fire training or maybe even force on force training, but it is an extra tool that is used very, very well. So going into this, I had high expectations, and those expectations were met, if not exceeded. So the course was a small course. It was only 5 students actually. So a very small group of people, so you can get your questions answered. You get a lot of individual attention, a lot of hands-on time with the instructor. In our case was their lead instructor, Bruce, and Travis Haley as well. They kind of split duties training us. Both really, really great. Bruce, if you don't know about him, he's a great dude, very knowledgeable, and a great instructor. So 5 students, it was me plus 4 others. 2 of them were Vancouver SWAT. And then the other 2 were civilians, martial artists, both black belts. I think one was an instructor. They had taken a lot of training courses in the past and several Haley strategic courses as well. So it was a solid group of shooters. If you're watching this, it was great training with you guys. And though I wouldn't say it's necessarily an advanced level course, like I think you could go into this course, and some people do go into this course with very little experience. I think Travis was saying like they've had a couple students that have never shot a gun that come in and take this course. So don't be too intimidated by it if you're new, but at the same time, if you are an advanced level shooter like our group of students were, you can still get a lot out of it. So you start off by getting set up in a room in their facility down in Scottsdale, Arizona. Get your gun ready, your real gun that isn't shooting live ammo, and your holster set up and all of that stuff. And then you have a desk, and you can take notes, and there's a PowerPoint presentation. And as you can imagine, things get very scientific with Travis and Bruce as well in their teachings. So a lot of biomechanics stuff, a lot of science about how we got here, and a lot of kind of explanation of why we're doing what we're doing. Why are we using a metronome? Why are we practicing balance? Why are we studying eye tracking? Why are we setting up high-speed cameras and 3 axes to really dial in your draw stroke? So a lot of information to go through, which is really one of the strengths of this course, because you can transition very easily from shooting on the screen mixed in with presentation immediately to PowerPoint presentation. You don't have to waste time reloading. You don't have to waste time setting up new targets or anything like that. So the system is, there's a primary screen, and then there's like the 300-degree like virtual simulator type machine. So the first day is spent on just kind of the regular projector screen, where you're set up on a more traditional training course where they can set up targets at varying distance. They can do a lot of cool stuff, like do wind speed and all kind of stuff, but we kept it pretty basic with targets. But the beauty is you can just instantly set up, 5 targets. You want to put them back to 10 yards, 20 yards, 50 yards. You want to change the target from small dots to big dots to hostage targets. You can do all that stuff, and it just takes a click. You're not up there getting targets, stapling them on, taping up your holes, marking your hits, any of that stuff, because it's all just right there, controlled by a computer. So you draw, it tracks your hits, and then he can clear your hits for the next drill or whatever you want to do. So super, super efficient. So the round count, even though it's a 2-day course, full day, 2-day course, is way more than you'd ever get. And while the price of the course is pretty high, when you factor in how many rounds you shoot and how much information and actually shooting time you're able to cram into this course, it far exceeds any live fire course than you could ever imagine, because you're not wearing hearing protection, you're not having to reload mags. Like I said, you're not having to change your targets out. He can talk, you don't have to yell over somebody. It's a very nice setup. It's, you know, it's climate controlled, so you can do it in the 120-degree heat in Arizona or in the middle of winter and still train super effectively. While I'm a big proponent of training in the environment, so if it's cold and you're wearing a jacket, train like that, train outside, train where you're gonna be. Those all have their place, but for this course and just jamming a ton of training information to a course, having a climate controlled environment obviously is awesome. You know, bathrooms right there, tables, notepads, set the notes aside, get your water, whatever. It's awesome in that sense. So the environment, the technology, great. The instruction, the science behind everything. I'm not going to get too into it because that is most of the value of the course, is what you're learning from them specifically. And then they do some other stuff. So they analyze your draw stroke with these high-speed cameras. So you stand there, there's cameras facing you, and you do a draw. I drew from concealment, and I went fast. Some of the students went a little slow, I think, to really dial in their draw stroke. I have a pretty good draw, so I just went full speed ahead. And he evaluates. Bruce is looking through it frame by frame by frame and saying, you know what, you wasted a little motion there, your hands kind of didn't line up, your thumbs were doing something funny. That kind of stuff. So he really analyzes your draw stroke, and then, you know, you make corrections based on that, and you draw again and you see if there's some improvement, and you draw again and you see if there's some improvement. So that was really awesome. I was kind of flattered doing that because I had a pretty solid draw stroke, and Bruce didn't find a lot of areas for improvement. And actually this was my favorite part of that drill. I'll play it for you right now, and hopefully Bruce doesn't get mad at me.
You're pretty. You're really clean. I'm a little jealous, honestly. So for you, let's just work on your impulsivity, which is what we're going to do here. When we're done here, we're going to really slow things down and make you be a little more deliberate.
Yeah.
So, awesome. All right, last guy.
So yeah, that helped boosted my ego. So while I did have a great draw stroke and I'm pretty accurate and pretty quick, and I mean I'm pretty good behind a gun. There's thousands of people that are far superior to me, but I can hold my own. I fell apart a little bit on the second day though when we got into the scenario-based training, which was very new to me and new to most people out there. So the second day we got a little bit deeper into some of the skills. The first day was kind of some of your more basic stuff: grip, trigger, stance. Why are you doing that? Why are your body angles the way they are? A lot of science again, and a lot of great instruction. And what I liked about them is they didn't say like this, you absolutely need to do it this way. They're like, this is kind of the way we've found works best based on science, but if you do things a little bit different and it works for you and it makes sense, hey, more power to you, that's great. So yeah, I got a little more advanced on day 2, and then we got into the simulator. So the simulator is like a 300-degree, not quite a full 360-degree, but a 300-degree scenario-based training. So there's projectors, screens, and there's a platform so you can walk around and you can move and you can be dynamic and all of that stuff. And this system allows them to load various scenarios. These were kind of law enforcement based scenarios because that's kind of where all the money is. This kind of training isn't super big in the civilian world yet. I mean, hopefully it catches on, and it's awesome that civilians actually get the opportunity to train like this. But the scenarios were really more law enforcement based. I'm sure they have some military based scenarios and stuff, but we did I think 4 scenarios, and they were all different. And so the scenario is you're basically responding to a call, they give you some background information, and then you enter the scenario. And it was really eye-opening for me. So you go in, and there's victims, and there's actors basically that are playing, you know, just a regular person or a bad guy or another cop or whatever. And you take cues, and they say stuff to you. So I don't want to give it away in case you take it, but they'll give you a piece of information, and you need to process that information real time, and you can use that to kind of dictate what your next moves are going to be. And you use the environment to kind of dictate where you're going to be kind of visually aware, where you're going to set up, where you're going to put your back to, where you're going to constantly be scanning. And it was a lot of fun. I've done a little bit of force on force training. And I've done my training. I try to be as realistic and dynamic and moving as much as I can in my own personal training. But but this is on like a whole new level. And a lot of scenarios are kind of set up to make you fail. So you go in and you think you're good here, and then something comes out over here. So it was caused me to be much more aware, and kind of an eye-opening experience, because I do a lot of, people call it tactical daydreaming or whatever. If I'm out at a restaurant or at a movie theater, I set up, like you should. You should have really good situational and spatial awareness, and you should know where your exits are. You should know where potential threats are, cash registers, back entrances, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of dial that stuff in when I'm out, not in a freaky paranoid way. I'm aware of it, and sometimes I'll go a little more, and I kind of envision a scenario happening, and I envision, where am I going to go? Where's the best cover? Where's the best concealment? If there was multiple assailants, which way could they come in? So I went into this like with kind of that mindset already, that preparedness mindset, and I got smoked a couple times. I mean, not smoked, but I didn't do as good in the scenarios as I thought I would. So eye-opening in that sense, to where there's just, you think you kind of know what's going on, but there's so much that can happen, and there's so much to take in. Even in like a 30-second, 1 minute, 2 minute engagement, there's so much that can happen in that short amount of time. And then we'd run through the scenarios and talk through like, oh, what did you miss there? What could you have done different here? Take these cues into consideration. These people are running that way, so where can you think the threat might be? If you can be from this area and see these 3 door positions, really should you get down low over here? And some psychological stuff with like hostage situations and things like that. But really just an incredible eye-opening experience. Some of the best training that I've ever had. Great instructors, great information, and just the really, for the D7 specifically, just a very unique experience that you can't really get elsewhere out there. So people, I don't know the questions that people are going to ask me, really. I think I got some questions. I put it out like on Instagram and maybe on YouTube, like asking for you guys to ask me some questions. And one of the questions I answered already is, do you have to be an advanced level shooter to take this course? And the answer is no, not really. You could be a beginner shooter. At the same time, if you are an advanced level shooter, like one of the guys, we had 2 SWAT officers. One of the guys was like 10-year military experience, and he's been on the SWAT team for 15 years, and he is a SWAT instructor as well. So he's a very experienced shooter over there. And I talked to him a little bit. He got a bunch out of the course. Took a lot of stuff that he could take back home to teach his he's an instructor, so he could teach his team. So a lot of stuff that you can get out of this training at any level. And the beauty of it is just, it's not very intimidating. For me, sometimes because we did some dynamic stuff. Even on the first day, we did a decent amount of shooting on the move. We did some kind of like balance ball, dynamic, jump up on the ball, hit some targets on this ball, hit some targets on this ball, hit some targets. And that kind of stuff is a little sketchy for live fire, especially if I'm not sure of the experience or the competency of these other shooters. In this scenario, obviously, it's very, very safe. All of the shooters were safe, and if they were handling live guns, we would have had no issues at all. But it is nice knowing that nothing bad can happen, kind of, in that kind of more dynamic type situation. And obviously, the 300-degree situation would not be possible at all. You could do some kind of simunition, force-on-force scenario that could potentially mimic some of those kind of situations, like in a shoot house and stuff. But even that isn't as realistic, because you have your paintball masks, and typically force-on-force scenario is much more straightforward. You don't have a lot of bystanders and actors where you're like taking in the scene and processing the information that they're giving you. It's more just take out the bad guys. So force-on-force, awesome training. Live fire on the range, awesome. And then this is kind of, I would kind of call it the next level almost for training. So I got a ton out of it. Bruce was an awesome guy. Travis Haley, awesome guy as well. I got to spend a little extra time with Travis. Their facility is really cool. They have a really cool storefront. Their training area for the D7 course is awesome too. So I mean, I don't know. I kind of have nothing but good things to say about it. It's one of those things, just like force on force, if you just train this kind of stuff, then it's not quite realistic. You're not getting the same recoil impulse and the same noise factor and the same, there's a lot of stuff that you get from live fire shooting that you don't get from kind of this more virtual type shooting, but really great. Now I'm just getting into rambling. So I think that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Travis, if you're watching this, thanks for having me. Bruce, great time learning from you guys. Great experience for me. If you have any questions about the course or anything, feel free to comment down below and I'll answer to the best of my ability. Again, if you're looking for holsters, this is a beanie that I am selling. I should be selling it right now, maybe. I'm not sure exactly when I'll have time to edit and upload this, but I'm gonna, as always, so my Patreons, shout out, what's up, thanks patrons. I always release limited edition merch to them first so that they can guaranteed get it. So depending on how many they pick up, there may not be many or any of these left, but I think there should be, and I'll link those down below. In addition to all my other swag and merch and holsters, obviously, and belts and all that stuff that I sell on the site, check that out. If you're not a patron, think about getting on, supporting, helping make this kind of stuff happen. Patrons are one of the biggest reasons that I'm able to get out and do this training and get the gear and test it out and do all this stuff. So huge thanks to you guys. And yeah, a lot of random videos around getting uploaded. Did some stuff while I was out there now. So we're getting into kind of a announcement, recap of my trip mode. Yeah, I'm just gonna recap my trip now. So if you were just here for the D7 information, that's pretty much wrapped up. Thanks for watching. Hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification icon, become part of the last line of defense. So great to have you here. Thanks for stopping by. Stay tuned. I make a lot of videos like this, a lot of outdoor stuff, training stuff, gun reviews, gear reviews, good stuff here. So we'll get into kind of like a trip recap. Let's see. Ooh, my shoes are squeaky. So trip recap, life recap, I don't know. So I drove down to Arizona. It was like a 12.5-hour trip, pretty long. I don't know if I would do it again for such a short trip that I did, but I had an opportunity to film some stuff with Travis in his warehouse man cave, which was cool, and I was just like, it was kind of a dream of mine to just park my truck in there and get some photos of it. So I did that. I also had a chance to meet up with Fieldcraft Survival guys. I was on the Fieldcraft Survival podcast. I'll link that down below in case you're into listening to podcasts. Like I said, I filmed a podcast with Travis that I will try and get edited, and I got to create it'll be my first podcast ever, so I got to create my podcast stuff and upload it wherever podcasts go. So I got to figure that stuff out hopefully soon. But yeah, I met up with Fieldcraft guys, amazing group of guys. I hit it off with them really, really well. It was my first time meeting up with them, even though I've kind of talked on the phone and communicate with them, and we kind of work together on some stuff. Hopefully more things to come with them in the future. Sat down with Mike, was on his podcast. That's already out. If you haven't listened to it, check it out. Mike and I just kind of talk about gear, EDC, the industry, that kind of stuff. It's pretty good. We hit it off really well, probably because he's like a fellow half Korean. Anyway, I met up with them. They did this really awesome thing. I think they called it the Border Run, where they went down to the border, met up with Tim Foley, found out what's really going on down there with illegal immigration and the humanitarian efforts, the misguided humanitarian efforts down there. Really interesting, eye-opening stuff. And then they finished it off with a toy drive with OC Overland. So a really cool trip. I wish I could have planned it better and went on that trip with them, but I had to get back to work and do real world stuff. So they went on that trip, and it was awesome to meet up with them and find out more about that. I drove back home. So I did film some videos with them. And just the nature of it, I did like a rig walk around with Travis, and then Sean, DEFCON Bricks, who works at Haley Strategic as well, was there, and he has a sweet Bronco, so I was like, I should walk around that. And then all the Fieldcraft guys, they're very, they're gun training, gear, and very overland centric. So they have, my shoes are really squeaky. If you think I'm farting, I'm not actually. I'll put my feet down. So they are very truck centric, so they'll have really sick rigs. So I was with them, I did some more rig walkarounds, which if I haven't uploaded any yet, they'll be coming to the channel soon too. So don't worry, this channel is not turning into like a rig walkaround channel. It was just, I was around a lot of cool vehicles with a lot of cool people, so I just did it while I was there. I probably won't do another rig walkaround for months and months and months, except for my own. But it was nice to see other people's gear, how they have it set up, other systems. So we covered like all the bases. Another Tacoma, a Bronco, a Tundra, a Jeep Wrangler, a 4Runner. It's a lot of cool content that I filmed and more that is coming soon. Yeah, I'm working through just about through all the Black Friday sales from my site. I am trying to get my house ready to sell. I'm moving into a new house. I made that little announcement in another video, but if you didn't know, I'm moving to a new house just with a little more space. A lot of you are bummed about this because what you've seen of this house is pretty cool and I like it, but it's got a rinky-dink one-car garage and it's an okay house, and I'm not like upgrading to an amazing house. I'm kind of like, you know, it's a very similar scale house, but it has a much bigger garage is the main reason. So when I'm working on my truck, especially in the winter, there's just not enough room in this garage to really do stuff. I have friends, we want to do like rig install parties and stuff, and it'd be nice to host them at my place because now I'll have the biggest garage. It's not huge, it's a 3-car garage, but it'll be a nice change. I'll be able to have more dedicated space where I can set up holster making and set up YouTube video making, because right now I gotta shuffle. Like, I'm in my garage right now, so I gotta like pull my truck out, move some stuff around, set up a light, film it, and it's a little bit of time and setup. So in my new place, I'll have a dedicated area where I can just leave my filming equipment, and if I have a second, just get in there, film a video so I can edit it whenever. That's my new setup. Hopefully we'll streamline my YouTube life and make my garage life a little better, because I have my shop, my Kydex shop in my garage, and I do installs in my garage, and I film videos in my garage. So there's a lot going on in my garage. So it'll be nice to have just a bigger garage, because that's where I spend a lot of my time just working on and building things. So yeah, I think that's it. This video is gonna be like 30 minutes long probably. I don't even know. Thanks for sticking with me to the end. Podcasts, let me know down below. I probably won't get into a super regular podcast schedule, but as I get more kind of established in the industry, I have a lot of good connections, and I have a lot of really interesting people that I could do podcasts with. So they would be willing to meet with me to do podcasts. And I think I'm pretty insightful in some areas, and I could meet with some much more insightful people. And I think I could make some really interesting podcasts. But like I said, I do a lot of stuff. I don't think the podcast will be a super regular thing, but maybe I could try to get into some like a monthly, like once a month podcast thing. So let me know down below if you're into that. Maybe recommend some topics, some people that you'd want to see. And it doesn't have to be all gun stuff. I'm into a lot of other things other than guns. Naturally, I'll have some gun guests, but maybe I'll have people in the off-road space, or just the entrepreneurial space, or business space, or maybe religion, maybe fitness, health, working out, general outdoorsman stuff. I'm into a lot of stuff, so it would be fun for me to have a lot of different kind of stuff. So I think the podcast will have a little more variety than my YouTube channel, because I'm already getting pretty diluted in my YouTube channel. I've actually talked to my dad and some of my friends about it, and they're like, so what is Last Line of Defense? Like, because you're doing like truck stuff and kind of diluting my brand or whatever. But I was kind of talking about, like, I started my brand from the very beginning, Last Line of Defense, because everything is very defensive and preparedness centric. So I'm a guy that likes being prepared. A lot of that, at least started off in the channel, being prepared with your like concealed carry permit and guns, so being prepared to defend yourself, last line of defense. But even my logo, which was a very early thing, had mountains in the background because I love the outdoors. So I was always kind of came at it from kind of the outdoorsman / defensive mindset. So even in my like overland stuff, it's more of like a preparedness type arrangement. And I think I'll keep it there. So I don't want to dilute myself too much more than that. But I'm always looking for feedback from you guys. If you think, because I've had emails, some not nice emails and some all right emails and comments and messages like, I followed you for guns and now you're doing all this truck crap and I unfollowed you, or I I really like your truck stuff, but I'm very anti-gun, so I don't follow you or subscribe to you, but you know, I'll probably stumble across your videos when they're not about guns. And it is what it is. It's America. Well, here is America. A lot of those anti-gun comments are from other countries, and that's cool. But part of the channel is like, I'm introducing the outdoors to a lot of people that just might be into guns and are missing out on this huge cool aspect of life. And I'm also introducing guns and preparedness and defensive type mindset to people that might just be into the outdoors and have never thought about it. And I've actually got a handful of messages recently, and it's kind of nice, and it kind of makes me want to do some videos about this type of thing. And there are people that it goes something like, hey, I picked up a Tacoma, I've been watching your videos, it's really exciting getting into the outdoors and overlanding. As I'm out and about, I realize that I'm defenseless, both against wild animals or criminals or crazy people or anything. So they have their truck and they have their gear, but maybe they don't have a gun, or they bought a gun, but they don't know anything about it, they don't know where to start. And that's kind of exciting for me. I like the mindset of a person that's just getting into something and they're like a sponge wanting to learn. They're reaching out for knowledge. They have inquiring minds. They're open. They don't have bias. Those people, I love those kind of people. And that's really what this channel started as. It started with giving tips to new concealed carriers. So I can see myself evolving that to kind of tips to people that are just getting into kind of a defensive preparedness mindset. That's kind of what the channel's always been, but I'm going to continue on. I don't know why I'm talking about that rambling stuff, but it was just kind of on my mind because I had some recent conversations about it. So I'm just sharing it with you guys because that's what I do on this weird channel of mine. All right, let's end it there. As always, guys, thank you so much for your time watching my videos. It means a lot. Super humbling that so many of you are out there just listen to me talk sometime, like this video. Hit that thumbs up button. It helps. Comment down below. I always love to hear your thoughts. Get subscribed if you're not already. And as always, take care.